Not gone the way people leave a room. It's gone the way a man leaves when something inside him is finally snapped. After everything he uncovered, after every lie that was handed to him, wrapped in love and loyalty. William walked out into the night with rage in his chest, and nobody knows where he went. And that is exactly where episode 8 picks up. Think about what this young man has been carrying. He spent weeks chasing the truth about his cousin Benjamin Gray. He traveled, he questioned people. He dug up a grave with his own hands, and when he looked inside, the face staring back at him was not Ben. It was a stranger. That moment broke something open in William. Because it meant the people he trusted had been lying to him from the very beginning. Ben was alive, and nobody told him. Then came episode 7. Amaranthus finally looked William in the eye and told him the truth. Ben faked his death so he could cross over and join the American Rebellion. She said she did it to protect her child from growing up as the son of a traitor. And then, as if that was not enough, she turned around and pointed a finger at William. She called him a safe choice. She said he was easy to be around because he never picks a side. She basically told him he was a coward dressed in a soldier's uniform. William did not take that quietly. He threatened to expose Ben. He said he would tell the world that Ben was alive and fighting for the other side. And that is when Amaranthus broke down completely. Because if William talks, Ben gets executed. That moment cracked William open in a different way, because watching her cry over Ben lit a fire of jealousy in him that he was not prepared for. Asterisk. To really understand why William disappearing is such a big deal, you have to go back to the beginning of this season and trace every step that brought him to that breaking point. When season 8 started, William was not the center of the story. Jamie and Claire were returning to Fraser's Ridge. The ridge was changing. New people were arriving. And the Revolutionary War was getting louder by the day. William was somewhere in the background, attending his cousin Henry's wedding in Philadelphia, and trying to hold himself together after learning that Benjamin Gray had died. That was already painful enough. Ben and William grew up together. William once gave Ben a toy soldier as a gift when they were young boys. That toy soldier is a small detail, but keep it in your mind because it matters more than it seems. William traveled to New Jersey to find out exactly how Ben died. He spoke to a surgeon's assistant at the camp where Ben had been held. The assistant told him something that stopped William cold. Ben had been getting better. He was recovering from his illness, and then he suddenly died. That did not add up. A man who is getting better does not simply drop dead overnight. So William did what any person would do when the story does not make sense. He went to the grave. He dug it open, and the face he found was not Benjamin Gray. It was a complete stranger lying in Ben's place. Someone had staged an entire death, arranged a burial, and made sure the world believed Ben was gone. The only clue William walked away with was that the toy soldier he had given Ben as a child was missing from his belongings. Someone had taken it, or Ben had it with him, which meant Ben was out there somewhere, alive, holding onto a piece of his childhood. That discovery turned William's grief into a mission. He stopped mourning and started hunting for answers. He followed the trail to Savannah, where he came across Amaranthus, Ben's wife. And somewhere along the way, William found out something about his own father that shook him just as hard as Ben's fake grave did. He learned that Lord John Gray, the man who raised him, had once been the governor of Ardesmere Prison, and that Jamie Fraser was a prisoner there. The man William did not know was his biological father had a relationship with the man he called father long before William ever existed. Every wall he leaned on for support turned out to be made of paper. Asterisk, nobody vanishes without a reason. And William Ransom is not the kind of man who runs away from things. He is the kind of man who runs toward them, sometimes at full speed, sometimes without thinking about what happens when he gets there. So when he walked out after that conversation with Amaranthus, he was not retreating. He was loading up. And that is what makes his disappearance in episode 8 so dangerous. Let's put ourselves in William's shoes for a moment. Strip away everything familiar and imagine carrying what he is carrying right now. The man he called father his entire life kept secrets from him. The cousin he loved enough to chase across 2 states faked his own death and never once reached out to tell William he was alive. The woman William was developing real feelings for broke down in tears, not for him, but for the man she is still. Clearly in love with things, somewhere underneath all of that, William is walking around with the knowledge that his real father is Jamie Fraser. A man on the opposite side of this war. A man he barely knows. A man the world around him treats as an enemy that is not one wound. That is a collection of wounds that have never been allowed to heal, stacked on top of each other until the weight became impossible to carry. And now William is somewhere out there in the wilderness of this story with all of that pressing down on him and no one beside him. Here is what makes his disappearance genuinely frightening. William threatened to expose Ben before he left. He said it out loud. He told Amaranthus that he would reveal the truth that Ben is alive and fighting for. The rebellion. If William follows through on that threat, Ben does not get a trial. Ben gets a rope. Amaranthus knows that. That is why she collapsed. And William knows it too, which means somewhere in that anger, he is also sitting with the knowledge that he has the power to end his cousin's life with a single conversation. That is an enormous and terrible thing for a person to be holding. So, where did he go? There are really only a few directions a man like William can travel when he is this far gone emotionally. He could ride hard toward the British camp and report everything he knows about Ben, letting his anger make the decision for him. He could disappear into the actual forest, which connects directly to the title of episode 8, and give himself time to breathe and think before he does something he cannot undo. Or, and this is the possibility that changes everything, he could find himself moving toward Fraser's Ridge, toward Jamie. Because when every false father figure has let you down, something in a person eventually pulls them toward the truth of where they actually came from. That third option is the one that would crack this season wide open. Because Jamie is already carrying the weight of a prophecy that says he does not survive King's Mountain. He is walking toward what might be his death with quiet acceptance, while Claire fights against it with everything she has. If William shows up at the ridge in the middle of all of that, broken and furious and finally ready to look at Jamie as something more than a stranger, the emotional collision that follows would be unlike anything this final season has produced. So far, and the forest matters here beyond just being a location. In this show, the forest has never been a neutral space. It is where people go when the world they knew stops making sense. It is where transformations happen, where identities shift, where characters come out the other side as someone slightly different than who they were going in. William walking into the forest in episode 8 is not just a physical movement. It is a signal that the version of William Ransom we have known up until now is about to change into something new. The only question is whether what comes out the other side is someone who has finally found peace with who he is, or someone who has made a decision that cannot be walked back. Either way, episode 8 is not going to let him sit quietly in a corner. His story has been building toward a moment of real reckoning all season long. And that moment is here. Asterisk grief does not wait for a convenient time. It does not check whether you are already overwhelmed before it adds another layer. It just arrives, sits down at your table, and refuses to leave. And right now at Fraser's Ridge, grief has pulled up a chair, taken off its coat, and made itself completely at home, before anyone even starts looking for William. Before his disappearance becomes the next crisis to manage, the Fraser family is already standing in the wreckage of episode 5N. And the wreckage is severe. Tote Fergus is dead. Say that slowly and let it land the way it needs to land. Fergus, the boy Jamie pulled off the streets of Paris. The young man who grew into a husband and a father and one of the most quietly beloved characters in this entire show is gone. And he did not die in the background. He died in a way that left marks on everyone around him. Marsali is not just grieving a husband. She is grieving the person who was the entire center of her world. Their children watched their father disappear from their lives. And the Fraser family, which has already buried so much pain over the years, is now carrying one more loss that has no easy place to put itself. Claire is holding all of this together with bare hands. That is what Claire does. She has always been. The person who keeps functioning when functioning feels impossible. But there is only so much a person can absorb before the cracks start showing. She is dealing with Marsali's grief. She is sitting with the revelation about Fanny and the truth. About Faith, which reopened wounds she spent years learning to live with. She is watching Jamie carry the weight of a prophecy that says he does not come home from King's Mountain. And she is doing all of this while trying to keep the ridge standing and the people on it from falling. Part completely. Jamie is the one that really stops you cold when you think about where he is emotionally entering. Episode 8. Because Jamie Fraser has faced death before. He has looked it in the eye more times than any person should have to. But this is different. Frank Randall's recorded account of King's Mountain lined up with Jamie's experience so precisely that it stopped being coincidence somewhere along the way. The terrain matched. The enemy position matched. The outcome matched. And the outcome, according to Frank's version of events, does not include Jamie walking away. What makes this even harder to watch is how Jamie is responding to it. He is not panicking, is not raging against it or demanding that someone find a way around it. He has accepted the possibility with the kind of quiet that is somehow louder than screaming. He shared his thoughts with Claire, and he did not dress them up or soften them. He told her what he believed might be coming, and then he kept moving, because that is who Jamie Fraser is. He does not stop. Even when stopping might be the most human thing to do. Claire has not accepted it. Claire will never accept it. And that tension between them, Jamie at peace with a fate Claire refuses to acknowledge, is running like a current underneath every scene they share right now. It is the kind of tension that does not explode all at once. It builds and builds until one moment finally breaks the surface, and when that happens in episode 8, it is going to be painful in the best possible way this show has always delivered. Pain. And then Lair Williams' crisis on top of all of this. A missing young man whose anger is pointed in directions that could hurt people. A father who does not yet know his son is in the middle of a breakdown somewhere out in the wilderness. A family that is already stretched so thin that one more hard thing might be the thing that finally splits them down the middle. That is the world. Episode 8, called In the Forest, is stepping into not a world that is bracing for difficulty. A world that is already mid-collapse, already holding its breath. Already one unexpected knock at the door away from a completely different kind of devastation. The Ridge has survived wars, betrayals, loss, and time itself. But surviving has never looked this fragile. And with only 3 episodes remaining after this one, the show does not have the luxury of a soft landing. Every scene in episode 8 has to count. Every conversation has to move something. Every quiet moment has to carry the weight of everything that is coming, because what is coming for this family is the end. And they are facing it already wounded, already grieving, and already missing one of their own. Asterisk, there is an art to how a trailer lies to you. Not in a dishonest way, but in the way a good storyteller withholds just enough to keep you desperate. For more, the people cutting these promos for Outlander know exactly what they are doing. They know which images to flash, which lines of dialogue to drop into the silence, and most importantly, they know exactly which character to keep off the screen entirely. And in the episode 8 trailer for In the Forest, the most important thing is not what you see, 'tis what you do not see. William Ransom is nowhere in this trailer. Not a single frame, not a shadow, not even a passing mention of his name. And that absence is louder than anything else the promo puts in front of you. Think about what that means from a storytelling perspective. William has been one of the most active characters in Season 8. His search for Ben has driven entire episodes. His confrontation with Amaranthus was one of the most emotionally charged scenes this season has produced. He is not a background character. He is not someone you can quietly sideline without people noticing. So when the people who made this trailer chose to leave him out completely, that was a deliberate decision. They are protecting something. They are guarding a reveal, a moment, a turn in his story that they do not want you to see coming before you sit down and watch the episode. That kind of omission in a trailer almost always means one of two things. Either what happens to William in episode 8 is so significant that showing even a glimpse of it would give away too much, or William's storyline in this episode connects so directly to another character's storyline that revealing him would reveal that connection before the episode is ready to make it. Both of those possibilities are exciting. Both of them point toward something bigger than a man simply cooling down after an argument. Now look at what the trailer does show you. Jamie is in the forest. That detail connects directly to the episode title, and it tells you that whatever in the forest means for this story, Jamie is at the center of it physically. He is not at the ridge. He is out in the wilderness. And the imagery around him carries that particular shade of Outlander tension that the show uses when a character is approaching something they cannot come back from. It is not the tension of a battle scene. It's quieter than that. It is the tension of a man who knows something is waiting for him at the end of a path and keeps walking anyway. Claire appears in the trailer carrying an expression that this shows. Audience has learned to read very carefully over 8 seasons. It is not panic. It is not grief in its raw form. It is the face Claire makes when she is calculating, when she is turning a problem over in her mind and looking for the angle that nobody else has found yet. Something in episode 8 puts Claire in problem-solving mode. And given everything sitting on the table right now, that could connect to Jamie's prophecy, to William's disappearance, or to something the trailer has not tipped its hand about yet. Marsalis. Grief moves through the background of several shots, like weather. It is present in the way she holds herself, in the distance, in her eyes, in the way that people around her keep a careful kind of closeness. The way people stay near someone they are worried about without wanting to crowd them. Fergus's death has not been processed. It cannot be processed in a single episode. And the trailer makes sure you feel that weight still sitting heavily on the ridge. Even as new things begin to unfold, there is a moment in the promo where the forest itself becomes the dominant image. No character, no dialogue, just trees and shadow and the particular quality of light that filters through dense canopy in a way that makes everything feel both beautiful and threatening at the same time. That shot is not accidental. The forest in Outlander has always meant something. It has always been the space between one version of a character and the next, showing it empty, showing it as its own presence in the trailer. Is the show telling you that the forest in episode 8 is not just a setting? It is a character. It is the place where this episode's most important things are going to happen. And then there is the silence. There are moments in this trailer where the music drops completely, and you are left with ambient sound and a single line of dialogue hanging in the air with nothing around it to soften the impact. That technique is one of the most effective things a promo can do because it burns that line into your memory. It makes you carry it with you into the episode. And the line that gets that treatment in this promo is one that speaks directly to the idea of being lost. It's not geographically, but in the way a person loses the thread of who they are supposed to be when everything they believed turns out to be built on something hollow. That line belongs to the William story, even if William himself is not in the frame when it is spoken, because that is what episode 8 is really about underneath all the plot mechanics and the war imagery and the grief of the ridge. It is about what happens to a person when every story they were told about themselves turns out to be incomplete. William was told he was Lord John's son. Incomplete, he was told Ben was dead. Incomplete, he was told that the world he was raised in had rules and loyalties and a clear sense of who the good people were. Incomplete, and now he is somewhere, in the literal forest of colonial America, trying to figure out who William's ransom actually is when you take away every label that was put on him by someone else. That is a question this show has been building toward for 2 full seasons. And episode 8, with its empty trailer and its heavy silences and its deliberate omissions, is telling you that the answer is finally coming. 3 episodes remain after this one. The finale is locked in for May 8th, 2026. Every scene from this point forward is the show spending its remaining time on the things that matter most. And William Ransom, missing from the trailer, missing from the ridge, missing from every safe and familiar thing he ever knew, is one of those things. He matters. His resolution matters. And wherever he is in that forest right now, whatever decision he is standing on the edge of episode 8 is the moment this show finally lets him find his way through it. Do not miss it. And when it drops on April 24th, come back here because we are breaking down every single moment the episode delivers. Drop your William theory in the comments right now. Where do you think he went? What do you think he is about to do? And if you think Jamie Fraser is going to walk out of that forest the same man he walked in as, I genuinely want to hear why. Because this finale stretch has me believing very little is going to land the way any of us are expecting.